Good morning, and welcome to day 6 of our Florida road trip. Today we are turning back around and headed back for Massachusetts because spring break is halfway over. Hello everybody, and welcome back.
We're at the marathon.
Welcome back to the Marathon Supercharger.
This is day 6, and we're getting enough juice now to get us up to Plantation. So when you're here, you'll need to supercharge quite a while because it's quite a trek up to Plantation until they put in some new superchargers. And I think they need to. There's really none in Miami. I want to talk about the Keys. So when we figured out that we were going to Key West, I had never been here and didn't know much about it, but in my mind I had always thought that this was kind of like the place,
Yeah.
And so in my mind I was thinking this is just going to be nothing but gorgeousness, and I was honestly a little disappointed because it's kind of, how would you describe it? It's tacky.
There's a definite lack of history and culture, I would say.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, we come from New England where there's lots of historic buildings and
Right, you trip over a historic building. But, yeah, I mean, I was just sort of expecting there to be a built-up area or some kind of thing based around, like, pirates used to come here, or this is Frederick Zachary
Smith.
Smith, and he discovered the Keys, or this is, Robert L., Cronway, and he built the road, or something like that. Like, I was expecting there to be more history. It was just sort of like,
hey, come and get some cheap beer, and here's some cheap sandals. I don't know, we segued around half the island of Key West.
Half the whole island.
And, there's some pretty buildings and pretty places, but a lot of it's just kind of run down. I don't know. Like, our resort, we stayed in one of the nicest hotels on Key West, and I'm regretting that decision now because, we spent a lot of money on what I thought was just going to be fantastic hotel, and it was just like the pier was falling down, and they charge you a $30 resort fee when we weren't here long enough to use any of the resort stuff.
Right. We didn't get to use the pool.
And when I explained that to the front desk, they're like, oh, well, that's a mandatory fee, so you have to pay it no matter what. And I'm like,
then may as well just include it with the whole thing, huh?
Exactly.
Right.
I'd love to see some comments of people who do spend time in the Keys. Maybe let us know some places we missed. Things we should.
That's true, because we only spent one night. So we are back at the Plantation Supercharger, and we are going to head off again west this time. So we're going to cut straight west across Florida,
the Everglades,
right through the Everglades, and then we're going to be headed north along the west coast of Florida to hopefully give you guys some different scenery. So off we go. Wish us luck.
Fort Myers, here we come. Alright, so we're driving along the Everglades here, and hopefully we're going to be able to get the drone up in the air. We're pulling over to a rest area, and we'll see if it's good conditions for a drone flight. Some of you might be wondering about the chopstick behind Jesse's ear. That is a high-tech device that we use to restart the drone. The drone has a little button on it that's hard to get at, and a chopstick fits in there perfectly. Alright, so let's see if we can get this puppy off the ground.
All right, so we are now at the Fort Myers Supercharger. This is an 8-stall. This is the old style of supercharger. So there's no glowy lights, and I think it kind of shows.
What do you mean?
Well, the location is sort of at the back of this Dick's Sporting Goods, and it's not. I mean, like, it is within walking distance of all these stores, but it is not close to any of them. It's about as far away from all of them as you can get.
Right. Yeah, it's not like they were trying to hide it.
Right.
But literally a 45-second walk to anything.
I'd say 2 minutes, but okay.
Bathrooms are available here at the different stores. This is our 17th new supercharger on the trip.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool. I'm going to give it a 7 because I think there's plenty of places. There's a Super Target, there's a Dick's Sporting Goods, there's plenty of other things in the mall. So pretty much anything you need is here.
Okay. Yeah, I think that I would give it an 8 if it were closer to other things. I'd probably give it a 9 if it were closer to other things, but I think I'll give it a 7.
At our last supercharger, someone brought up a good point that not a lot of these superchargers have trash cans. And a lot of times you get here, and it's because you have a few minutes, you want to, like, empty out all the trash that's in your car. And for whatever reason, there's usually no amenities like trash cans, which, I'm being picky. But, it would be nice.
Yeah. So, yeah, 7?
7. So why are you driving in this traffic, Jesse? Why don't you just put it back in the auto steer?
Well, earlier when I was speeding up so we could get that shot of the truck with the gas cap undone.
Oh yeah?
It kicked me out of auto steer because we were going a little too quick. And so now it won't let me go back in.
Wait, so you were driving so fast that it beeped at you and now you can't go back in auto steer?
It won't let me go back in auto steer.
Oh, interesting. So we have to come to a complete stop and put it in park first. Now, when did you get your Tesla?
I got this in 2015, September.
Nice.
Matter of fact, I had gone to these, every month I was going to another regatta in 2015. And I skipped going to Chicago to race on Lake Michigan.
Okay.
Because that's the month my Tesla was being delivered. So I said, I got to skip that month.
Now, what made you kind of early on the Teslas there, so what made you get into Teslas?
Oh, I saw all the videos, and
that sold you?
the performance. Elon Musk is a great inspiration.
Yeah.
Between here, he just makes a 1.5 billion from PayPal. He doesn't just lay on.
No, exactly.
He gets out there, SpaceX, Tesla Motors, Solar City.
Yep, we were just over at Kennedy Space Center, and it was just so exciting.
Oh, yeah. I want to actually go in the Falcon 9 Heavy.
Oh,
when the Heavy gets launched, I want to be there for that.
That'll be fantastic. Yeah. All right, so we're at the 8-stall Supercharger in Brandon, Florida, and we just met some really nice folks. We met Helmuth from Test Rider, which we're going to tell you more about in the future, and we met our friend Dan Hall, great guy. This one is in a strip mall, again, that has a Petco and a Staples and an Olive Garden and all the kind of things you would need. I'm going to give it a 7.
Yep.
It's fairly easy off the highway, just about a block. What are you going to give it, Jess?
I think I'd give it about I'd give it a 7 too. I'm changing my mind.
He's changing his mind. He's going up. We never agree hardly. In the past 2 we have.
Yeah.
Is there any trash cans around here? Because again, I've now been turned on to this thing that there aren't many trash cans around.
No, there are no trash cans around this one.
But I guess you could bring your trash over to one of the trash cans in the mall. And the other thing to point out is that this one seems to be pretty busy, just like we've seen in the other ones here in Florida, but I have a feeling that as the new ones come online, like Naples and stuff, that will start slowly change.
Yep.
So we thought it would be fun to do some questions and answers from the road. We put out a request for questions on Facebook, and here's what we got.
Matthew Brown says, love your shows. I have a Model 3 reserved, but I do have concern. Currently we pay roughly a 40-cent tax built into the price of fuel for road improvements. What will happen as more people transition to EVs? At some point, they will start to tax electricity used for EVs, correct? How will this affect the cost of operating an EV?
Yeah, so right now, you mentioned 40 cents. So we have to understand that there's a federal gas tax. There's a state gas tax, depending on your state, what they add in. Then you have usually a local excise tax, which you pay to your municipality for your car, based on the sales price of the car in many municipalities. And those taxes go usually to pay for infrastructure, roads, bridges, tunnels. And what he's referring to is the fact that EVs, well, we're not if we're a true battery EV, we're not paying for gas, so therefore we're not paying for infrastructure through those taxes. And as the number of EVs on the road grows and the number of ICE cars shrink, we're going to have to change how we pay for the roads. So he is correct. EVs are going to have to start paying a different way for roads. I would like to ask all of us Americans here and everyone in the world to have a better discussion about how to pay for roads. So I just want to point out that an excise tax is what I pay on my car in my town, is based on the value of the car. So for instance, I just bought this new Model X. It's worth a lot of money. I paid over $2,000 last year in excise tax to my town. Jesse has a Leaf worth $9,000. He paid, I think, $70. Think about that for a second. This car, over $2,000. His car, $70. They're both cars on the road. They both basically take the same wear and tear to the road.
Right.
Now, that's fine if we're open about that and we're like, okay, you're richer, you have a more expensive car, Zach, so you should pay more. But when we get onto the federal highways and I go stop at a gas station, I'm paying the same gas tax as Jesse is if I'm driving an ICE car.
Right.
Doesn't matter if I'm richer or poor.
Right.
To me, that's weird. I think that we should either decide that we're going to have some kind of tax that's graduated depending on income, or we should decide, no, everyone's the same, and if you're driving 100 miles, you should pay the same as someone else who's driving 100 miles. But to get back to your question, yes, you're right. As more EVs get on the roads, they're going to have to change how to pay for it. How are they going to do that? I don't know. Is it going to be an electricity tax? Right now we have the technology to keep track of how many miles you've driven, so should it be, oh, you've driven more miles than Jesse has, so you should get charged more? I think that should be how it's done, because you're using the roads more.
But then why are some things taxed? Like, it doesn't matter how many children you have in a public school, you still pay the same as everyone else.
Great point.
Does just having roads near you, even if you aren't driving a car on them, if you're taking the bus, or if you're walking, or if services can reach you because of the roads,
Excellent point.
Should you be paying for them? And their upkeep.
That's an excellent point. I mean, they're a public good, right? I mean, whether you are stuck in your house and you never drive, or you ride a bike, you have the roads have a value to you because they're bringing goods and services to you in businesses and commerce and so forth. So yes, so maybe we should stop paying gas taxes and EV taxes. Maybe we should our general taxes should pay for roads.
Right.